Hi, good morning, everyone. So is it audible to everyone? Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. It is audible.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, so before understanding today's concepts, let's try to recollect it what we were understanding yesterday, and then we continue. Yeah, yesterday we started understanding about the version controlling tool. And without version controlling tool, what are the challenges? And to overcome the challenges, there is a need of version controlling tool in the development environments. But why do we need that? The version controlling tool in the development environment is yes, file distribution among the development teams, history to track it, securities to manage it, yes, tracking history, maintenance, and saving the disk spaces. Yes, all these activities, if you are expecting about it, then there is a need of the version controlling tool in the development environment, especially. But what are the different version controlling tools that we have in the market? Yes, we have the two different types. We can categorize it on the basis of the architecture which they have designed. That is a client and server architecture and a distributed version controlling tool architecture. But client and server architecture, this is the old approach model. That is, you will have the remote repository, and on the developer systems, we will have the working copy. But with the working copy, directly committing to the remote repository. So what are the challenges we have is network bandwidth challenges. Network, if you have this any glitch in the network, yes, that is going to impact on that during the committing the files or committing the files. Here we say that committing. If he is going to do the commit from the working copy to over the network, it will be updated to the remote repository. Thus we say that check-in and other developer, they can do the checkout. And this is especially centralized repository. You don't have the distribution. So you have always a dependency on the centralized. But to overcome the limitation from this client and server architecture, yes, the Git has come into the market as a distributed version controlling tool. But what is the architecture that uses is? That uses that's a remote repository. But it's just storing that in the centralized kind of the stuff. But it is a the distribution also. How that's a distribution? So any developer, whenever they are going to clone this repository to their local system, it is going to create a local repository as well as local and as well as remote. These two are going to work like as a distribution between the local to that, the remote. And developers, once they have done modification on the files or the development side, then they need to commit to the local repository. Then once they are ready to distribute it, then they can push that code to the remote repositories. And other developers, they can pull the code. Yeah, this remote repository, we can call it like as a bare repositories also. But how do we create these remote repositories? Yes, we have these different tools in the market, that is GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. So today we are going to work with the GitHub, taking and how to create a remote repository. And this remote repository, how do you work with that as a developer side? Developer is nothing but about our Windows system. Or you can take it Unix systems also, there is no issue. But there are the clients connecting to that remote repository, then either pushing the files or pulling the files. Yeah, that is we are going to see this demonstration. But yesterday we were understanding. So if you would like to manage about your repository, that is Git repositories, how do we install the Git? And how do we get the help of the Git? And how do we configure the Git? And how do we differentiate it? Is it the directory, is it a Git repository or normal file directory? So all those points yesterday we are understanding by creating this one local repository. How to create a local repository? So that's we are using git init command. So it is going to create local repository in the .git. Dot is like a normally hidden directory, right? As local repository is like as a backend that is in the .git. But in the current directory, whatever the files you see that is a working copy. So working copy, you need to commit to the local repository. Local repository is nothing but .git folder, where all the changes that will be stored first in the local repository. Then you can synchronize to the remote repository if remote repository is configured. Yeah, so there are the points that we are understanding yesterday. Yes, any queries, questions, please let me know before moving to the next one.
Sir,
Yeah, yes, please.
suppose developer one push the code from local repository to remote repository. So after making some changes, then if the developer, it is synchronized, right, sir?
Yeah, yes.
Then if the those changes are accessed by developer 2 also at a time, or he needs to push the pull the code,
Yeah. Wait some
understood my
time.
doubt, sir?
Yeah, I got it about your doubt.
Okay.
So if the developer one has pushed the code, immediately that will be synchronized to the developer 2 and developer 3. All the developers are not.
Means she's saying that consistency, sir. Consistency of that copy, the repository copy in other developers.
Yeah, exactly. So that is my point. Yes, like once he has pushed by the developer 1 to the remote repository, is it automatically synchronizing to the developer 2 and developer 3 or not?
Okay,
It
means no need to
it won't.
code.
Let me conclude my state. Let me conclude my statement.
Okay.
It won't synchronize it automatically. So these developers, they need to pull the code. Then only it will be updated. That is, you are going to learn it all the concepts. That is the configs you have, and we are going to work with that. Wait some time.
Okay.
But as the further timing, automatically it won't be synchronized. Yeah, any other queries, questions? Okay, so now let's go ahead. Yesterday we are working this on the local side. The local, that is just to get that familiarity. But actually, the go for this creating remote repository, and once you join to the organization or any project, you will be having that existing projects. You don't see that so from the scratching creating a project where you will be having that existing. Starting the project from the scratch. That is very, very less scope you will be having that. But most of the scenarios will be having that existing project working with that. But where the existing projects? Yes, that is in the remote repository. So now what do we do? That is we go further so creating, we are going to use the GitHub. The first how you can create an account in the GitHub. And once the account has been created, then how you can create a repository within the GitHub. And once that repository is available, how you can clone that repository to the developer system. So let's talk it one by one, that process. This side we are coming this today. So that is, so let's take it the GitHub, or you can work with the GitLab or Bitbucket, any one of that. That is about your choice. So I'm going to show this demonstration with the GitHub. So let's log into the GitHub. But what is a GitHub if you try to understand it? That is a remote repository. If you search it in the Google about the GitHub, yes, you will get that official link, that is github.com. So before understanding that, or before signing up and creating the repository, so let's observe that their features. So what they are saying this is, yeah, let's build from here. Yes, you can sign up with GitHub and you can start that, creating a repositories and working with the repositories. And there are the different clients they are using this GitHub, PNG, Mercedes-Benz, KPMG, Stripe. Yeah, different clients they are using the GitHub. And yes, so productivity point of view, they have come up with that AI powered platform also. So that is Git Copilot. Yes, GitHub Copilot. So this is a different service. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so you can implement the code and you can manage that code in the repository. So the main these three features, you see that productivity, you can improve it, and we can do the collaboration, that is sharing the code among the development teams, and as well as securities. Yeah, embed security into the developer's workflow. Yeah, with GitHub, developers can secure their code in minutes and organizations can automatically comply with the regulations. Yeah, the security point of view, collaborations point of view, productivity point of view. Yes, you see that 56 million projects are using that, the GitHub. Yeah, secrets scanning. So there are the features that is available. From the GitHub. So if you have the time, you can refer it. And let's go for that. The first time, I mean, maybe if you have already created account, you can reuse that existing account. Or if it is not yet done, so sign up for GitHub. So straightforward 3 or 4 inputs required. There is username and email address, password. Do you want to get the product updates or announcements from the GitHub team? If you are okay with that, then you can select these and then verify about your account. So it is kind of, is it a robot system or is it a manual? So it is just verifying that about your, match this image. So maybe this is going to support it. Okay, so whatever it is, so you need to make sure that is matched and submit it and confirm that or create an account with that. Okay, so this is simple, straightforward. So email, you need to have that about your Gmail account, you can use it, and with username you can define it, password, and create account. Once account has been created, then you can sign into that. Yes, I have already account. I'm going to log into that. So it is asking us email verification. So let's confirm that. So yes, I got it one verification code. So let me confirm that. Yeah, so yes, that's about signing up that and signing. So once you sign in that, so you can view that about your all repositories. So they're all my repositories which I have created. Yeah, so if you'd like to refer this about your repositories, yes, you can go to the about your repository section. Yeah, there are all the repositories. Yeah, how do you access this one is? So this is about user menu section actually, which you can see user menu. And here you can see about your user profile, and you can view about your repositories. So project which contain that, like where the multiple repositories and multiple projects, you can manage it as an organization. Yeah, so if you need that enterprise model, that is multiple organizations with multiple projects and multiple repositories, then you can use it enterprise options. Yeah, there are like different the models that they have given on the basis of the requirement, which you can see this. Yes, these are all the repositories. And if you have created, you can get it the projects here. So the projects. But projects and repositories, that's almost objective is the same. But projects which contains like where you can manage it, multiple repositories for that. But repositories, if you are working, that's more enough. So let's go for that, creating a repository. And one more thing, you can explore other repositories also. Suppose if you would like to search for that. So any, suppose Docker repository. Yes, you can search for the Docker repositories. And throughout, I mean, in the GitHub. So what are the Docker repositories are available? So from the different vendors, you will get it. Those Docker repositories here. So like this, if you need that any code reference about that projects or something, yes, you can search normally in the Google also, you can do that. Or you can explore that other repositories from the GitHub. Yeah, search all of the GitHub. Yes, it is going to give that with that keyword. All the repositories of the projects which are matched, you will get it that. Yeah, now let's go for that. The creating a project. Yes, if you like to create a project, or you have already existing project in another, suppose GitLab. I have this one project. I need to import it to the GitHub. Can I import it? Yes, you can import the repository. So import about your project to GitHub. You see that's about your old repository is clone URL. Even if you have that SVN URL, server URL, if you have given that here, and it is going to, I mean, what are the repository name you are going to give it here? From the SVN, the complete repository that will be migrated from the SVN to the GitHub. Yeah, that is importing the repositories, whether that is available in the GitLab or SVN or Perforce, doesn't matter that. So you need to take this, that's URL. Yeah, so it is given that the supported VCS. What are those VCS it is supporting that importing? Yeah, it is supporting the Subversion, Mercurial. So this is about Team City related. That is a Team Foundation version control. Now we can say that Azure repositories, that is, and Git. Git is supporting is nothing but GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. Those repositories also you can import into that. So old, I mean, if you need to migrate it, the old version controlling into that new GitHub, yes, import is the option. Yeah, you can import the repositories and you can create organization. Organization is multiple, I mean, you are going to group it multiple repositories or projects. Yes, let's go for that. Creating a repository. So I'm going to give the repository name as, this must be unique name. So I should not use it already, this repository name as batch is available. but I'm going to use it for about your batch specification, batch 48. Yeah, so this is going to create this repository in my account. This is my account ID. Whenever I'm going to access this repository, first I need to, GitHub is going to have so many users, right? You also can create account, or I also can create account. But how you are going to access about your repositories, or how I am going to access my repositories is, so all these repositories, it is going to track it with the username. Yeah, user account name / repository name. This is actual the path to access the repository. Yeah, this is my account owner, and as well as this repository name, and you can write the description of this repository. Yes, this repo is for B48, some information about it. And yes, whenever you are creating the repository, this is one more important thing. Do you want to give this one or this repository as a public repository or private repository? But what is the difference between the public and private repository is, public repository, if you are going to create it, anyone on the internet, that means if they are able to search with about your name and this repository, they can download the code. They can see about this repository, but they cannot upload it. Upload is, they're going to change the files in the repository, right? So uploading, others, they cannot do that, but everyone can download it. Yeah, everyone can see about your repository, but you can choose who can commit it. Commit is nothing but updating, right? But we can add it collaborators. That is, suppose you need to work it on my repository. So I can take it about your GitHub user ID, and I can add you as a collaborator, where you can perform commit operations. Yeah, that is a public. Anyone can download the code, but they cannot commit it. But if I define the private, everything, even downloading also required the credentials, authentication, and even uploading is also required the authentication. That means you need to add it collaborators. Yeah, we'll observe that where you can add the collaborators. We'll come back. Yes. So let's go ahead, public repository. And most of the cases, repositories, if you see that, you will be having one README file. So if you refer that any repositories, you'll be having a README file. README file is, it is going to give that information of the project or a description of the description of this repository. Yeah, if you'd like to define the README file for about your project, yes, you can choose it. Otherwise, you can ignore it. Okay, let me create the project with the README file. And the remaining, there are like a license. This is like, I mean, which license do you want to give it for about your repository? So whenever you are downloading that third-party repository code, if you see this either Apache license, public license, MIT license, you can reuse that code, no issues. But if you see this other licenses, then you need to refer the license documentation, whether you can reuse their code or not. Otherwise, you will be having the copyright issues. Yeah, for about your repository, so you would like to give that the public license, or if you have this any specific license, you can choose it that. But for the time, you don't need that those licenses. But yes, any third-party repositories you are referring that Apache license, MIT license, GPL. If you have this kind of, then suppose let me open that any one of the repository. Java GitHub project. If you just search it in the Google, yeah, you can, it is redirected to the GitHub. Let me take it any one of the core Java project. Yeah, so each project, whatever we are talking that, or whatever the repository, if you just observe that, it is going to have the username and repository name. So this is something, what is the name? Nagandula. Okay, some initial he has given that with a core Java project. If I go to this repository and first verify the license file, but he didn't give that any license file. So no license file. Okay, let me use it another repository. Yeah, so he has given that the license file, but which type of the license he has given, you can check it. Yes. So this is the general public license, GNU. Then you can use it the permission, commercial use, modification, distribution, patent use, private use. Yes, you can reuse this repository. So like this, for about your repository, if you would like to set the permissions license, yes, you can define the license as well as, but not required. Just go ahead with the default. Yeah, so that is about some important. Main option is public or the private. So private is both required authentication. Public is update is required authentication. Downloading is no authentication. Anyone can download about your code. Yeah, let's go for creating a repository. Yes, I have created the with the README file. And this is my account, and within that account is a repository name. And here, this is the code section. You can find that list of all the files, whatever we are implementing. So we will get it all the files over here. And the default, if you observe that, so here it is showing that branch, master branch. Yes, any repository you are creating is nothing but what is the default branch you will be having is master branch. But we can create multiple branches and we'll come back. And yeah, so README file advantage, what is that? Yes, each project mostly if you see that you will be having the README file. So what is that advantage? They describe about the project or about their, but he didn't create it that. Yeah, so he has created the README file. Then what is that advantage? Whenever we come to this repository, we can understand about this project. As he has described some information about the project. Like that, README file is going to help you to get the project information. Or if you'd like to add the content, you can edit that and you can add the description information of this repository. Okay, so that is about understanding some points. Yes, this is about your repository and you can access this code. And readme.md, that is a project information. Quickly to understand that repository, you can use it that describing this in the readme file. And branches, yes, the default branch is a master branch. And now you can see that how many branches we have in this repository, how many tags we have. But what about these branches? What about the tags? Will come back it. And here itself, you can create a new files or you can upload the files. Yeah, that is, so if I'm working on this remote repository is nothing but, so this GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, these team members, whatever the repository we are using, they have given the user interface itself, where you can create a files directly in the repository. Or you can upload the files here itself, but that is not recommended. Yeah, if you others like quickly editing some files and do that, yes, you can use it. But regular activities directly working that's here, that is not recommended. That's why we go for development environment. But if you have some small change which is required immediately to fix it, yes, GitHub is providing user interface. You can edit the files and you can modify the files and you can work with the file directly in the remote repository itself. Now this one is remote repository and as well as the client also. Suppose readme.md is one file. So I'm going to editing this and I'm modifying this. This repository is for B48 to demo about version control system. Yes, I'm modifying here, and I can commit the changes. Commit the changes. So directly, yes, it is asking that commit message. What is the message that do you want to define it about this update? You need to describe it. Yes, updating readme.update. Okay, commit the changes. So now whatever I have committed, it has been updated. So that means, so instead of doing from the developer system, so actually this should be done from the working copy. Working copy, then commit to the local one, local, then one push it. But I don't have that much time to go for that. Then these remote repositories, if they are providing any user interfaces, some quickly editing the files or updating the files, you can do directly in the remote repository also. But recommended is this one. We'll come back. Are you following the points? Understanding the GitHub?
Yes, sir. But now can we see the versions here? Like what is the updated changes that has been done on the code?
Wait, I'll come back. I didn't define any code and I didn't do any commits. I'm just explaining the interface of the GitHub. But coding level, committing, pushing, pulling. So that is, we'll come back. Definitely you will get that. How do you view the versions information, logs information, who has committed, how do you track it? Yes, that's will come back. Now here you see that's like commits information. But let me go ahead first talk in the set development side. So that is the objective here today. This remote repository, how to get into that, the developer system. But before working with the developer system, the remote repository, GitHub, how do we have? And yes, how do you create a repository? And once repository is available, licenses information, and as well as this README files, and you can edit the files here itself, and the default branch information. So they're all just, we are exploring this page, but I'll come back definitely to that. Okay, so before going to move into that next concept, let me conclude one more point from this GitHub user interface. Suppose if I would like to add the collaborators, that is team members. So, I mean, this repository I'm working is nothing but I'm the only developer who is going to use it that. Maybe other developers are working, but they also need to have the permission to commit the files. Then how do we add that other users to this repository is, so if you go to the settings section of this repository, so first option itself, you have the collaborators. Yes, now, so this is, here you can define that adding the people who can manage this repository. So if I'm having about your GitHub ID, about your username or email ID, then I can search it in the GitHub and I can add the permissions to this repository. And so this is one thing. So how you will give it the permissions. If it's a private repository, even to download it or uploading, yes, you need to have the users. Yes, you can add the people and you can manage the permissions. This repository is a public and visible to anyone, but if you'd like to change this one to the private, yes, you can change it. If you go to that manage who has access, change repository visibility, that is private, you can change it. Private to public, you can change it. So there are the settings of this repository. So where we are now, we just observe that we are in the general section. But collaborator section, you can add the people to the repository. And you can change the repository name at any time. And what is the default branch? What is the default branch nowadays has been created? Master. But I need to have some exposure. Yes, you can define that. Yeah, what are those branches? That is a big concept. I mean, that is, we are not jumping directly to the coding. But first getting the familiarity with that, local repository, remote repository. then developer system. Then once you know all these things, then we can start working on the coding side. Yeah, so this is at least which we should know from this interface. Are you clear about this? About the remote?
So
yeah, so now we got it. The remote repository creation and getting ready of this. But now I'm the developer and I joined to the project and I have my Windows system, but I need to get this remote repository to start working. That is implementation of the code or updating the code to this remote repository. So I need to get this remote repository to my local system. So how do I get it there? Yeah, so in this local, in this remote repository, so in the code section, you see there's like a URLs. Even if you go to the GitLab, even if you go to the Bitbucket, this URL is important. But on the base of the GitLab, GitHub, the user interfaces are the different. User interfaces are the different, but objective is the same. Yeah, now let's go ahead, taking this URL link. Yes, this is a URL link, and even you can download the GIF file also. But GIF file that is not recommended. GIF file is just if you like to download this code, yes, you can use it. But if you would like to work like as a developer to perform the push and pull operations, don't try to download this. So go ahead and take this. The link has been copied. Now go to this Windows system. Yes, let me use the Git bash terminal. Yeah, I'm going to use this Git bash terminal. So before that, just a minute. I forgot to stop that one instance. Destroying that one instance. So just 1 minute. Okay, anyway, meanwhile, let me open this one more Git bash terminal. Okay, so yesterday we have created one work location, right? So D drive, workspace, batch 48. I'm going to use this workspace. So already we are working with that Git, but yesterday we were observing that's local repository. So we have created one folder, and that folder, how do we convert as a Git repository? That is by using the git init command. But now today the concept or scenario, what do we have is you have already remote repository. You are not creating new repository. So you have already remote repository in the GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket or wherever it is. If you have the URL, that is enough. But I need to get that remote repository to my local system. How do we get it there? So this is the Git clone. So first time whenever you are getting the project, the remote repository to the local system, that is developer system, then we use the Git clone and then URL. Yeah, so this is the URL of the remote repository. So let's clone this. Yeah, now it has been done. The cloning into the folder batch 48. What is the repository name we have? Yeah, this is a repository name, and this repository is in this account, and this account is created in the GitHub. Okay, that repository as it is cloned. That is a batch 48. Now, if I go to this directory, yeah, now you see this, whatever the file which I have created, not only just one file, whatever the complete code, whatever you have over there, everything, it will be cloned as it is. So now this is about our local repository, but is it a local repository or not? How do you know it? Now you see the .git folder. Yesterday we were creating with the git init, but today we have copied from the remote repository by using the git clone. Clone, what it is doing is it is creating local repository, and as well as what are the code we have in the remote repository, it's downloaded. Now this directory, can we say this repository or not?
So it's a repository.
Yes, it is a repository. And now if I see this files here, this is my working copy. So total 3 points. This is my working copy. But working copy should be mapped to the local repository. Is it on the local repository or not? How do I verify it? Yes, .git folder is there, is nothing but. So this working copy is having the local repository. But this local repository is synchronizing to the remote repository or not. How do I know it? How do I check it that? So this local repository, is it synchronizing or mapping to that remote repository or not? So you can see this in the configuration properties, git config. Yesterday also we are using git config, but I'm not going to refer to the global properties. I'm going to refer the local properties. That means I'm not using the -- global. So git config -- list, if you run it. So this specific repository properties. But we have so many properties, but here you see this important thing, remote URL. What is the remote repository URL? This remote repository URL, right? So this, this remote URL. So what is the alias name it is going to use? It is origin, remote origin URL. So my local repository, is it mapped to the remote repository or not? So now we are observing that my work after, I have the remote repository, I have cloned it. Any developer, first he needs that the remote repository, first he has to clone it. Okay, I have cloned it. After cloning, what's happened? I got it my workspace, and that workspace is mapped to the local repository as well as, and that local repository is having the remote URL also. That means if I'm doing that any push operation, full operation, it is going to use it that remote repository URL to update the code to the remote one. This is a backend, it is storing that all the properties. So where it is storing in the Git configuration properties.
Whatever we created in local repository, that we need to explicitly update into the remote repository.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Otherwise, suppose if we don't have the control, if I do commit here, automatically is synchronizing. Then maybe sometimes some commits I should not update to the remote repository. But if it is going to update automatically, then I don't have the control, right?
Yeah.
So it is not going to do automatically synchronization. You need to explicitly push it, and you need to explicitly pull it. Pulling is update, pushing is from, about your changes updating to the remote repository from about your system. That is explicitly you need to do that. It is not automatically. Is it clear about that? The 3 keywords, that is a workspace, local repository, and remote repository. This is my workspace. Yes, here if I see this any files, these are all my workspace files. I can edit it, I can modify it, and I can create a new files. But after updating my workspace, I need to commit. Commit I'm doing is nothing but it is going to update to the .git folder. But this local repository, is it mapped to the remote repository or not? How do we check it? Git config -list, and especially verify that remote URL. If the remote URL is defined, then if it is GitHub, GitHub URL, if it is GitLab, GitLab URL, if it is Bitbucket, Bitbucket URL. That's why it is, we can say that easy to distribute it. Are you clear about that? Now the environment is ready. Yeah, so let's just think about I'm the developer one. My working copy is ready. My local repository is ready, and the remote repository is ready. But if I'm going to modify the code or editing the code, what I need to do that? Yes, let's understand the flow of execution now. Yeah, this is a GitHub which you are understanding. Yeah, cloning the repository we had just done, getting that remote repository to the local one. So once that's the developer, my system is ready. If I would like to commit the files or if I would like to push the files, what is the workflow which we have the says? Yeah, my working directory is ready. But between the working directory and to my local repository, one more area it is going to manage by the Git. That is a staging area. Normally, explicitly, we don't see this one. But once if you update any files in the working area, you cannot commit it directly to the local repository. That is not possible. So once any file modified or you created new file, first you need to stage it. Stage is kind of the cache area, which is managed by internal Git. So first you need to update the files to the staging area. From the staging area, then you can commit it. But there is a meaning, there is a reason for it. But what is the reason? I'll talk it later. Why they have given the staging area, why I cannot directly from the working directory to the local. There's some meaning, some reason is there. I'll show this in the scenarios. Yeah, once that is updated to the local repository, that is a .git folder, then you can push to the remote repository. Yeah, how do I do that? My working copy to that staging area is you need to use it git add command. If you're going to use a git add, then think of it from workspace to the staging area, we are updating the files. Then once it is updated to the staging area, then we do the git commit command. Git commit you are running is nothing but actually you are not doing from the workspace to the local. So that is from the staging area to the local. So after committing, that will be updated to the .git folder. Then you can push to this remote repository. Remote repository is a distribution. So if you need the distribution, then you can do the git push command. After pushing, then other developers, if they need it, then they need to do that git pull. Or if at the first time they are going to, they don't have any reference of this remote repository, what do they need to do? Other developer, they need to clone it. First time clone it. Second time onwards, update it. That is a pull. Yeah, so this is a workflow which we have. That is workspace to the staging to the local to the remote. This is the overall the process. If you have this one updated file to update to the remote repository. Let's do these commands. Okay, so let me create one sample file here. So I'm going to use it via editor. Let me create file. I'm working in the workspace. So this is my workspace. This is repository location. This is repository. And if I see this any files, all these files are in my workspace. This understanding is important. Whenever you are working that's with the clarity, which state you are in that about your artifacts to understand it. Yes, these concepts required. Otherwise, simply we can clone it and we can edit the files, we can push it. Simple 3 or 4 commands, not required to discuss this much. But what exactly is happening? Why it has come up with this architecture? So in the troubleshooting cases, And issues whenever you have, if you are going to trace it about it, these stages are going to help in that. Okay, so now I'm in the workspace. Let me create one test file. That is something I'm going to create some Docker file. So content wise, don't worry about it. Files wise, don't worry about it. Process, understand it. Okay, I'm adding some content here. So this is Docker file. Yeah, so I have created in my workspace the Docker file. But this file are in my workspace. What are the files I have modified, or what are the files I have created? If I would like to know that before updating to the staging area, then what is a command which we use? It is status. Git status command. So now it is helping us to analyze it. Yes, we are in the branch, master branch, obviously only one branch, master branch, right? We don't have other branches. Yes, branch is a master branch. We are on the branch master. And it is identified untracked files. Untracked files are nothing but this file is available in my workspace, but Git doesn't know anything about this file, right? .git, that is local repository or remote repository, doesn't know anything about this file. I just created in my workspace, but I didn't update to the repository. Even the local repository also, I didn't update it. That's what he's saying, that untracked files have been identified in the workspace. So what is that file? Docker file. And what is the instruction, or what is the suggestion it is giving us is use git add and a file name to include in what will be committed. Yes, what are the files you would like to commit it? First, you need to stage it. Why they are in the staging area? Suppose I have the 10 files in my workspace, but all the 10 files I don't want to commit to the repository, but I need to commit only 5 files. So what are the files you would like to commit it? First stage it, then commit it. But directly, if they would have given the git commit, my 10 files will be committed to the local repository, right? What the point? Why they have given the staging area? But out of the 10 files, 5 files are in the middle of the implementation. I should not commit it. If I commit those files to the remote repository, then it is going to give that impact to that other developer's functionality or my functionality. But I need to fix it some issue and I need to release it immediately, that file. Then which files that do you want to commit it? So first what you need to do, add it. Yeah, so warning message, let's leave it. So now if you verify the git status after adding, now this file has been moved to the staging area. Workspace to the staging area. Before it was red color, because this is untracked file. Git doesn't know anything about this. But now after adding, now it is saying the changes to be committed. Yes, you have one change to commit it. Now this file is in the staging area. The Docker file is in the staging area. If you'd like to commit it, yes, you can commit it. Or if you'd like to roll back, that means bringing back to the workspace. Yes, you can do that. Git restore. I'm going to restore it. That is revert back. So let me run it, this command, and let me show that, then you can understand it. Git restore from which area that is available? That is in the staged area. And which file I would like to revert it back to workspace? The Docker file. Now if you verify the git status, now the file is in the workspace and Git doesn't know anything about that file. So you can revert it back. Revert it back, what is the command? Restore. Yeah, so, but let me add it, this file. So I'm doing the staging. Let's check the status now. Yeah, it has been staged. Now I'm ready to commit to the local repository. Still, it is not stored in the local repository. That is in the .git folder. So it is in this cache area, temporary some folders it is managing, and it is stored over there by the Git. But if I would like to actually store it, I need to use the git commit command. You are committing is nothing but you are updating the Git database. You are updating the Git database with the commit. It is going to track it about your username, about your email ID, at what time you are updating, date and time. And you need to give that description of this commit, some message. So what you are doing, why you are committing this, why you are updating this change. Suppose if I'm doing that some bug fix related, the commit, then that bug fix number I can add it. So issue number. So this commit is belong to that so-and-so issue number. Then in the future, if I go back and if I go to the history, okay, this commit is happened because of this issue. Then if you go to that issue tracking tool and issue number, if you verify that, what was the issue and why, what is the commit it was done, you can get the clarity of it. So during the commit, you need to describe about your commit. So why you are doing that commit? Yeah, issue number or particular the workflow number which we have, the task number. So you can add it here and you can describe it. Okay, updated or created Docker file. So commit is expecting that the message that is describe what you are doing that. And whenever I do the commit, you see this one file has been changed. Now it is updated to the .git folder. How it is managing the Git leave it, that Git database is going to take care of it. We don't want that looking into the .git folder. So one file has been changed and one new line has been inserted in this file. Plus indication, new lines have been added, minus indication, lines have been deleted. And it is a create mode. This is the first time creating the Docker file with these permissions. In the Git database, it is storing all these things. Git database is also file system, right? That is .git folder. Yeah, Git add it. That is workspace to the staging, then commit it. Now it is updated in the local repository. Now if I verify the Git status, so nothing to commit, working tree is clean. Nothing to commit, working tree is clean. That my workspace and my local repository, it is synchronized now. I don't have any changes in my workspace which are required to commit to the local repository. Everything is clean. But here, if you see this one message in the status, your branch is head of your branch in the sense local branch. This is about our local repository. Local repository is having head of origin. What is that origin? A remote repository alias name, right? Origin is the default name for the remote repository URL, alias name. So remote repository master branch, if you compare with this remote repository master branch and about your local branch is having one advanced commit. Yes, obviously, we have done commit to the local repository. Local repository is having one commit advanced than remote repository master branch. You see that information also. That means what you need to understand it was you have some changes in your local repository which is not updated to the remote repository. Right? So what I need to do now? If I would like to update my local repository to the remote one, if you go back to this remote repository and if I refresh here, still I didn't get that change to my remote repository. But Git commit is having only up to the local repository. But if I would like to get that change to the remote one, what I need to do? So I need to go for that git push. But if I'm going to push, the code is nothing but which branch code to which remote repository I need to update it. What is the alias name of the remote repository? Origin. So how do you know that all these things? You can just run it git remote -v remote repository information. Yes, this is my remote repository. But what is the alias name? Origin. You can use this command git remote to view that list of all the remote repositories, or you can go to the git config, the properties, you can verify it. Are you getting the points on this? Yeah, how I can push it is git push origin. Origin I'm doing is nothing but indirectly I'm defining this URL. But in this remote repository, which branch we have? To which branch do you want to update the code? Master branch. For the time we have only one branch, master branch. Yes, now if I try to push it, push is nothing but updating, right? Your updating is nothing but you need to have the credentials. Actually, in my system, the credentials, the GitHub credentials are already defined. That's why it is not asking that. But in your system, if you try to run it the first time, it is going to prompt for the credentials. So you need to enter the GitHub username and GitHub password. But normal password, you should not give it. What you need to do is, let me show that. So you need to use the token key. Normal, whenever you are signing to this repository, you can use it username password. But whenever you are going to do the push operation, pull operation, if it prompts for the username and password is nothing, but username is okay, you can use it this username. But password, it doesn't take it, it doesn't work with that. You need to generate one token key. So how do you generate token keys? So go to about your account settings. At the last, you see that developer settings. This is development, coding wise you are doing. Developer settings. Personal access tokens. Yes, you need to use the access token key. Normal password doesn't work it whenever you are working with the git push. So go to the token section. So here already I have the tokens which have been generated. That's why it is not prompting. So what you need to do, you need to generate token. Give some name and how many days that do you want to use this expiration, you can define it. Then which permissions for that token. Then give that all the permission for the timing and then generate token and use that token as a password. Anyway, tomorrow I have this, or in the next class, I have the scenario with working with that Linux systems. There I will show that this, but if you are working with that and if you are pushing the code, so you need to use it token key instead of the password in the git push command, git pull command, or git clone command. But how do we generate the token keys? Let's go to this menu about your user menu settings and come back to the developer settings. At the last you will be having, then go to the personal access tokens and generate token. And here define the name and select all these things. These are all the permissions and generate token and use that token to log into that. Yeah, while practicing, you will be knowing that, yes, do the practice. And if you're facing any issue, just let me know. Are you clear about this? But in this context, whenever I'm pushing, it is automatically taken and it is updated to this remote repository, the changes. That means now my local repository is synchronized with the remote repository. So if you go back to the repository, Yes, what is about our repository? Yeah, so this repository, and if you go to this repository, now you see this, yes, we got it, the Docker file. And what is the message we have given? That message, you can see that as the description. When it was done, we just push it 2 minutes back, but actually it was committed to the Git database, that is a local repository 8 minutes ago. And total in this repository, how many commits we have done? 3 commits we have done. Latest commit 8 minutes ago, it has been received. And each commit is going to have its unique ID, and this is the unique ID of this commit. Those will come back exploring that more. So how do we track the history and how do we view that? That will come back. But yes, now we got it the file. Is it clear about that? So what are the commands we are understanding? So first, any files have been modified or created, first check it about your workspace. How do you check the status of the workspace? Git status. Then that is going to compare with about your workspace with the staging area and as well as the local repository. So you need to do the staging or not, or it is already staged, then you need to commit it or not. Yes, it is going to give the status command. It is helping. Run the Git status, know about it, and working copy to the staging area, that is Git add, staging to that local repository, that is Git commit, -m and a message. Then once it is updated to the local repository, then you can use the Git push. Origin is alias name, default alias name, and which branch, that is master branch. Git push origin master, that is a command we have used to push the to push the code to the remote repository. But other developers, whenever I push it, other developers, will it be automatically updated? No, maybe they are in the middle of the work, it should not update it, right? Automatic updates not acceptable because they are in the middle of the work, and if about your code is updated there, then if they do that any compilation of the project, they will be facing the issues with about your code. Whenever they are ready to update it to their local repository, then they need to pull it. Are you clear at these points? Yeah, so that's about some commands understanding the Git status, Git add, Git commit, Git push. That's workflow point of view, would like to understand the commands. But now what do we do that is, so let me launch that quickly one Linux system. But anyway, we have the different activity that is honestly time waste, that is launching that machine and all this for the timing. Anyway, in the next class, we have the parallel development. That means 2 developers, if they are working this at the same time, what are the challenges we have? There I will try to use the Linux system to demonstrate it. Okay, let me go ahead some more commands understanding from the Git side. So let me do that updating the file. Suppose this Docker file. Now I need to modify some more content. Yes, I'm adding some more content. This is from developer 1, some changes from the developer 1. So now if I would like to see the status, run the Git status first. Yes, now you see this, it is not showing the untracked files. Now it is showing that modified file. Because Git knows already, Git is having the reference of this file, right? In the Git database. This is not the new file. So now it is saying that the modified, but it is not saying that untracked. And it is clearly saying the changes not staged for commit. Yes, if you would like to commit it, you need to stage it first. Stage mandated. So if you would like to commit it, git add and file name. Or if you would like to revert it back, git restore file name. Restore is revert back. Add is committing. I mean, adding to the.
So here, any file that we are doing update modification, first we have to add it, and then we have to commit it and push it. 3 process for each and every file.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's this process you need to follow that. Stage it, commit it, push it. But here, so now, if I would like to come, I mean, the staging that each and every time I need to do that add and then file name, you need to definitely stage it, no doubt at all. Stage it, commit it, and push it. But what is that option they have given us is, now this file is already known by the Git, right? First time, whenever you are doing the new file, you need to add it mandatory. But second time onwards, you don't need to run the 2 commands. That is git add command, then git commit command. You don't need to run the 2 commands. You see that option, git commit -a. -a, what is that a meaning is nothing but it is going to staging and then automatically it is committing that. You don't need to run 2 commands now, but you need to stage it definitely. But in the commit itself, it has been given that option -a. If you are okay with that directly to commit it, yes, you can use it -a and then give that message. So Docker file is updated. You can add some description, what you want. And then yes, it is staged and as well as it is committed. Now I don't need to run the 2 commands. But if it is a new file, first time, yes, you need to add it explicitly. Second time onwards, within the commit itself, you can use the argument -a. That is staging and committing in single command. Now I can push it. Git push origin, the master. Yeah, now it has been updated to the remote also. If you go back to the remote and if you refresh about your file, before the 3 commits, now you see the 4 commits. And the latest commit is on the Docker file. Docker file is updated and this 1 minute ago. Yeah, now let's try to understand it. How do you track that? The complete information, how many commits was done, each commit, how do you know it? How do you trace that? Which line is modified that which developer? Because yes, now after releasing that in the production, some issues have been raised. But what is the latest commit that is done in that commit? I mean, who has done that commit? And what are the files he has done in that commit? Which code he has modified in that commit? We need to trace it. So how do you do that? Yeah, now you have this git logs command. Yeah, not logs, log. Git log command, which is going to helping that to view the list of all the commits which are happened so far. You see that this is the first commit. And this is the next commit. This is another commit. This is another commit. Like that, all the commits, it is showing that. Each commit is having the 4 attributes, if you observe that. Commit ID. This one we can say the version number, but it is not like as a 1, 2, 3, 4. the sequence numbers, it is going to create one random unique ID for each commit. You are doing the commit is nothing but you are updating the Git database and it is tracking that change with one unique ID. That's ID, we say that commit ID. This one we can say that hashtag also, not hashtag, that is hash code. Or checksum number, we'll call that the unique ID. And author, who has done, and that is developer one. But where it is taken, the developer one? That is from the yesterday we have set the configuration properties. And what is his email ID? At what time he has committed? And what is the message he has given that? So these 4 attributes, that is a tracking that in the commit. So unique ID, who is a developer, what is his email ID, at what time he has done, and what is the message he has described. So this is one commit, this is another commit. So like that 4 commits we have done. So this commit, this is the initial commit. You see that's like whenever we are creating a repository, readme.md file we have created, right? That readme.md file itself is one commit. Then we are updating the readme.md file, that is another commit. Then we have created the Docker file from the developer one system. But here who has done this one? This is my GitHub ID, it is tracking that. So it was done in the GitHub. And this is done from the developer one system. Are you getting the points of that? Each information that can be tracked. And Git log is having some more options also. Suppose you have the thousands of the commits, but all the thousands of the commits, if you'd like to see like this, then that is very difficult. Then you can use it one line option. That is simple format. Git log -, one line. So this is the first 6 or 7 characters it is going to give it. That is the hash code. And this is the message. Hash code and that commit message. And here one more point, you see that it is saying that head is nothing but latest or current. That is the meaning. Head branch is nothing current branch. Which branch? Yes, now this commit is available in the master branch. That is the latest commit. Origin master, what is the origin master? That is remote repository master branch, right? A remote repository master branch is also having the latest this commit. And origin, that is a remote. Head, that is the latest commit, is also this commit ID. Suppose let me do one more commit. Let me open the Docker file or readme file, any file. Okay, let me open the Docker file itself. I'm going to add it. This is third line from dev1. Some content I have added. And I'm going to, let's check the status first. That is git status. Yes, modify the Docker file. Let me commit it and stage it. Docker file modified with dot statement, some message. Okay, I have committed this one to the only local. Now, if I verify the git log, what did he say in the git log? So the latest commit is this one, Docker file modified with the thought statement. Yes, this is the latest commit. This commit is available only in the local master branch. This commit, we didn't push it to the remote. But in the remote, this commit was there in the remote. So that is origin master and origin head is having this commit. That means what I can understand it, this commit is only available in my local repository. Still, I didn't push this commit to the remote repository. The remote repository is having this commit, the latest one. Have to clear this point. So which branch, which commit it is having? Yes, my local master branch is having this commit, but origin is remote reference. Origin master, that means the remote repository master branch is having this commit. That means this commit is not available in the remote repository. Now, if you go back to that remote repository, and even if you refresh this also, you see the Docker file is updated 8 minutes ago. We didn't get that third statement which was updated. Now, if I open this Docker file, we have only these 2 lines. The third line which was added, we didn't get that still to the remote repository. But if I would like to get it, yes, once if I'm ready, then I'll push it. Use the Q to quit it from this git log. From that terminal, if you'd like to quit it, use the Q for quit. So now if I try to push to this remote repository, that is origin, and which branch, that is master branch. Now the local repository commit, latest commit, whatever we have, it is checking that and it is updating to the remote repository. Now if I verify the git log, you see that my local branch master, my remote repository master branch, my remote repository head commit, all are the latest this one. And even if I go back to the remote repository and if I refresh that, my Docker file has got the latest update. So now you can see the file content also here. Yeah, git log is going to help with that to know that all the commits which are happened, and you can see that's like a local which commits it is having, and the remote which commits that it has been updated. All those you can track it here. Are you clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can find the lab guides. And in the lab guides, it is clearly explained all these commands. If you would like to practice it, you can get the reference of these commands in the lab guide. Yeah, so this is a one line. But if I would like to see that file-based all the commits, suppose now we have almost 5 commits, 5 or 6 commits, okay. But we have some commits on the readme.md file, and we have some commits which belong to the Docker file. But I need to look into that, the commits which are happen on the particular file. Can I get it? Git log and give the file name. Then this file related all the commits, you will get it. Now you see there's only 3 commits, you got it. Yeah, created the Docker file. Docker file is updated, and Docker file is modified with the third statement. There are 3 commits which are happening in this Docker file. File based, we can get the logs. Suppose if I give that the git log and with the readme.md file. Now we have the 2 commits, right? Yes, initial commit and updated that. But this was done in the GitHub itself, both. File based, but I need that author based commits. Particular developer, what all the commits he has done. That is git log --author, and you can give the author name. Then this author he has done 3 commits. You see that 3 commits we got it. And even if you need that more clarity, that is you can use it --one line. Yes. So this developer one, he has committed these 3 commits. Like that, another developer, yes, something. What is that? Yeah, this account ID, if you use it, then this author related all the commits you will get it. Yeah, you see there's 2 commits that is showing that. So author-based commits, file-based commits. And the latest 10 commits, I would like to see that. How do I see this latest commits? So it is giving that so many, but I don't need all the things. But I need that git log latest 2 commits. So git log -n, that is a number of commits, that is a 2. If I say this 2, it is going to give the latest 2 commits. If I say this 3, then 3 commits it is going to give that. Yeah, git log -n and a number. How many latest commits that do you want to see that? That's commits you can get it. Are you clear about this git log command with options?
Yes, sir.
Now, whatever we are talking about this Git related labs, you can find it here in this GitLab section. Let me just give that information. Yeah, launch the EC2 instance and install the Git and check version. But on the Linux system, I will explain this in the next section. We'll come back. As a parallel development, we are going to talk it. During that context, I need that Windows system and one more system. There I'm going to use it. But for the timing, you can work with that, even the Linux system also. Yeah, launch the EC2 instance and install that. How to install the Git on the Linux system is installed. Remaining commands are all the same. Git -n version, Git help commands. What are the, all the commands to know that. Git clone, particular command help, manual of that, and configuring that the properties, that is username, email ID. Then creating existing directory as a Git repository, yes, create one folder and git init it and observe that the local repository, and creating a new repository, yes, git init, and you can directly give the project name or a directory name. So that is going to create a directory and the directory as a project. That is a repository. And checking the Git global project scope properties. Yes, global properties, git config -global -list. Local repository properties, git config -list. Adding the files in the workspace and staging it. Yes, as we are talking about it now, that concept is creating your files, stage it, check the status, then add it, then again check the status. Then from the staging area, restore it to workspace. That is rm -cached, or you can use it restore -staged. Then stage it, commit it, and check the logs. Yes, add the file, that is stage it, then commit it, then check the status, then check the logs, and revert back the changes from the working directory. Suppose you have done some modifications and you would like to revert back the changes, you can use the git restore. Restore from the staging area, you can restore it, or current in the workspace you have modified and you can restore it, that one as well. Yeah, stage it, commit it, and check the logs. Stage it, commit it, and check the logs. As we are understanding, yeah, modify that with a different context and commit it and change it. While committing, give proper comment on the base of the ticket numbers. Yes, so that's like the task numbers or the ticket numbers which you have. You need to give it, or you need to use it while committing that. Yeah, whatever we discuss, all the things that is available in this lab guide. So this is the first git commands 1. And git commands 2, like this is also the local repository. The almost renaming a file, removing a file, committing, renaming. They're all also straightforward commands, no big deal. Yeah, differentiation, I'll come back. Okay, this one, these things which we need to discuss. Then remote repositories. Yes, whatever we discussed that's today, the GitHub repository, go to that and sign up that account, create repository with README file, generate access token key. Yes, if you need that, while doing the pull operation, push operation, if it is a prompt for the password, in the Git command prompt browser, you can use it directly the password, but in the Git command prompt, if it prompts for the password is nothing but you should not use it about GitHub password. You should not use this GitHub password. You should generate token key. Where do you generate the token key? Yes. Go to the user profile settings, developer settings, personal access token key, and generate token key. Yeah, note GitHub username and token key are the credentials to clone the repository or to push the repository. Yeah, then clone the repository. Yes, like first configure that username and email ID. If it is a new system, clone the repository, then go to the repository directory. Then you can check your workspace files. You can check the local repository, and you can check the Git configuration properties. And create some dummy project file, some src directory and index.jsp, write some content to this file and pom.xml file. Yes, so do some files and add it, commit it, check the logs. Can you do this one? Then finally updated, yes, git push origin to the master. Then go to the GitHub and refresh the page and check the latest changes in the remote repository. So whatever I just discussed, that is everything. It is there in the lab guide. You can try to practice it. Yeah, in the GitHub itself, you can do the changes as we were talking, the readme.md file. Yes, you can edit the file and add some content in the file and commit the changes and observe the user and commits information. And if you need the latest change, then you need to pull it. So git pull origin master, git push origin master, that is pushing from the local to remote, but remote to the local, how to get it? Git pull. Yeah, some sequence here has been explained. You can just refer it. Are you clear about this? This parallel development, I'll come back. That is in the next class. That is a parallel development between the two developers. If they are working on the same file, same lines of the code, some conflicts will be having. Those conflicts, how do we handle that? Or how do we overcome it? The problems. Yeah, so that's about GitHub, GitLab guides. You can refer it. But let me talk it some more commands here. Are you following that?
Yes, sir. Following.
Type this in the chat window, following. Okay, good. So let's move into that. Some more commands on the developer side itself. So what is the one more command which we need to understand is, suppose we have these two commits. So this is one commit. And after this commit, this is the latest commit, right? The sequence of the topmost is the latest one. Now we need to trace it. What exactly the files that have been modified in this commit? So what is the line now? Suppose git log is showing about it. Okay, so this is a comment and this is the time and this is the developer and this is a commit ID. But what exactly has happened? Which files have been modified? In that file, which content it has been modified? Content. Can I trace it? If I know that commit number? Yes, we can do that. So that is git show. Git show command. And if you give the commit ID, you don't need to copy all the entire commit ID, first to 5, 6 character, that is enough. And if you give the git show and the commit ID, then you will get that more details of the commit. Yes, this is the commit ID and author and his email ID. When he has done, that's the commit. What is the message he has done? Okay, this one we know it in the git log itself. But here it is going to running internally diff command, differentiation. So comparing with this commit to the previous commit. So now we have given this, what is the commit ID? This is the commit ID. So this commit ID is this one. But before this commit, what was happened on this? Yes, let's see this. It is comparing to this commit to the previous commit. But what it is saying this is diff. If it is doing, it is required the 2 objects, right? That means 2 files. Yes, one file it is marking as A, second file it is marking as a B. Yeah, the Docker file has been modified. But in the previous commit, it was showing the device null, but the latest it is showing about it a Docker file. That means, what is the meaning of that? In the previous commit, this file was not there. And in this commit, this file has been created. Device null, before it was not found. But in this B object is latest commit and A object is previous commit. It is comparing internally. So it was null. Now this in this commit, we got this file. And this is the new line. Yes, you see that. Okay, what you have added in this Docker file. So we added this line. So you will get the complete details of the commit also. Suppose if I give this commit. Git show commit ID. Okay, so this is a commit ID and this is done by this developer and at this time, and this is the update he has done. And A file and B file is what is the file it has been modified? Docker file. Okay, but what is it is modified? Here you see that A is there, this Docker file, B is there. That means in that commit the file is there and this current commit is also the file is there. But in the previous, this line was there. And in this commit, this new line has been added. Yes, we are doing in this Docker file is updated. So before this line was there and we were adding this line, right? It is clearly giving that the diff between previous commit to the current commit. This is kind of the diff command. Git show is comparing current commit to that previous commit. What are the files you have modified and what is the content you have modified? Content also, whether you have added the lines or whether you have deleted the lines. If it is minus, then you see that deletion. Plus, that is adding. All those we can trace it. That is git show command. Git log is all the commits and git show and commit ID. Then once if you know the commit ID and what exactly is happening in that commit, if you would like to know it, git show commit. But how do I view that in the GitHub is? GitHub is a user interface and easily you can get this information. Let me show that in the GitHub also. So over here you can see this list of all the commits, right? It is like as a git log command now. Git log, it is giving all the commits. But this is a user interface. And you see this each commit, yes, this is the initial commit which was done by this user, committed 1 hour ago. And this is the commit ID. So this is next commit, next commit, next commit, next commit. Like that, each commits you can see here. And just we are observing that git show command, comparing with the current commit to the previous command, previous commit. But here, if you would like to see, just click on this commit ID. View commit details. Now you see that. So this is done by the developer one, committed 27 minutes ago, and one changed file with one addition and 0 deletions. But what it was done, you see that this is the previous commit. So these are in the Docker file. If you have this number of files, 10 files, all the 10 files you can see. So Docker file. So this is actually previous state. And what it was added in this commit? Yes, new line has been added. So this is a commit ID. But what is the parent commit ID? This was a parent commit ID. It is comparing. So command-wise git show command, but in the GitHub, just to go to the commits and you can click on the commit ID and you will get that difference between the current commit to the previous commit. Suppose if I click on this commit ID, that means git show that commit ID. Yes, these are all the 2 lines previous it was there. And in this commit, there is a new line which has been added. Easily we can get it right. Are you getting the points of it? Git log command, git show command, whatever we are talking this in the git section. Now in the GitHub, we are observing this with user interface. And it is saying there's one branch is available. Yes, only one branch. It is a master branch, but we don't have any branches. But we can create branches. We'll come back. So how it is representing there? Origin master. Origin is remote repository URL and the branch is master. Branch is like as a directory. Just think it as a directory. Now we are reviewing the files in this directory. Which directory? What is the directory name? Master. And suppose let me edit the content here, Docker file, and I'm going to edit some content here. So this change is from GitHub. I'm just modifying some content in the GitHub. Okay, let me commit the changes. But here you don't see the staging directly. So you are directly committing this file, right? You are working with one file. But there in the workspace, maybe you'll be having the changes multiple files. That's why first you need to stage it. Which file do you want to commit it? But here I'm doing the commit is nothing but this file only, I'm committing that. That's why here we don't see the staging and all the stuff. Yeah, I'm updating the Docker file. Commit it. Are you clear about this? So now it has been done with one more commit. So now this is the latest content which is available in the remote repository. But I need to get this change to my local system. How do I get it? In the remote, we have some update. But how do I get it to this local one? It will to update the remote repository changes to local. Git pull origin and which branch? Master branch. Before it was pushed from the local to remote. Now we are working with that from the remote to the local one. Now you see this, we got it one change from the Docker file. One file has been changed with one new line. Now if I verify this, that's Docker file. Now I got it the change. Yeah, this was typo. Okay. Now I got the change from the GitHub repository. Very clear? How to get it from the remote to the local or local to remote? How do you update it? And how do you see this list of all the commits and each commit wise if you like to track it? Yes, command line is important and as well as GitHub. Maybe are you going to use the GitHub or not sure, right? But if you know the Git commands are the universal. Whether you are working for the GitLab, Bitbucket, AWS code commit, Azure repo, doesn't matter that. The Git commands, whatever we are talking this in the command line interface, that is universal. But maybe GitHub, are you going to work it in your project? Not sure. Maybe your client, maybe he will use that GitLab. But GitLab user interface is different. but there also you'll be having same concepts. But user interface is different, but Git commands are the universal. That's why focus on the Git commands. And as well as, yes, familiarity with the interface also. Are you clear about these concepts? Comparing with that Git commands and with the interface. Yeah, so refer those lab guides one more time, and all these commands that has been given over there. You can work it in your the Windows system, or you can work with that whatever EC2 instance. Yes, you can do any one of that. But only installation process is a little bit different. Remaining the story is the same thing. Is it clear? Shall we log off for today?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, what about others?
Yes, sir. Good, sir.
Yeah, understand the concepts, and concepts wise work with the commands. Then it is easy. Or otherwise, I don't need this much time to discuss that. Directly, okay, if you like to commit it, git add it, git commit it, then push it. But what exactly is happening? Why they have given that? In which context? Yeah, stage they have given is nothing but maybe in your workspace you have the 10 files. All the 10 files, if they didn't give the staging area, but 10 files I don't want to commit it, but only 2 files I would like to commit it, then how do I commit it? From my workspace to that the local repository. If I use it git commit, 10 files will be committed. Then I need to wait it until those 8 files also ready, right? But now I can add it these 2 files to the staging area, which are required to commit it, then I can commit it. Then remaining 8 files in my workspace, and those 2 files which are required to commit it, I'll commit to the local repository, then I'll push it to the remote repository. So that's why we have git add, git commit, git push. Okay, good. Thank you. That's all from my side for today. So we'll meet on Monday and we'll continue with that parallel development, some challenges. There we'll talk it like 2 different systems, environments. How to manage it to the repositories, parallel development. Then we'll come back to that branching strategy. So how to create a branches, how to switch the branches, why do we need the branches, what is the real-time branching strategy? We'll come back to that branching models. Yeah, thank you all. I'm going to log off for today. And let's try to complete all the lab guides. And if you have any pending activities, try to complete those activities from the AWS and come back to the Monday.
Sir, these class videos.
Sorry?
DevOps class videos. These
Yeah,
3
yeah.
classes.
So week I have some storage issue. That's why like some files are in the,
Okay, sir. Okay.
yeah, some files are in the cloud and some files are in the local. I need to streamline that. I'll do that maybe today or tomorrow. That's
Okay, sir.
yeah, I'll update you. That's once it is done.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I remember that. I get that point. Yes. Definitely it will be done either today or tomorrow. Yeah, thank you all. So we'll meet on Monday and do all this practice and get ready for